For over a century, a shadow has lingered over Germany's most treasured historical artifacts, a dispute born from the ashes of empire, pitting the descendants of Germany's last emperors against the modern state. This was the Hohenzollern dispute, a saga of castles, priceless art, and uncomfortable questions about the past. Today, June 19, 2025, that chapter finally closes. An agreement has ended one of Europe's most protracted cultural heritage conflicts. At its heart, who owns the legacy of the Prussian kings and German emperors, the family that once ruled, or the public? The resolution is more than a legal document. It's a hard-won compromise, balancing private claims with the public's right to shared heritage. With the ink dry, we can now look back at the epic struggle and what it means for Germany's relationship with its past. To truly grasp the roots of the ongoing dispute, we must first delve into the story of the family at its very heart, the Hohenzollerns. Their legacy is not just a tale of royalty, but a saga that shaped the destiny of an entire nation. The House of Hohenzollern was instrumental in forging the identity of Prussia and, eventually, the unified German state. Their influence stretched far beyond the borders of their ancestral lands, leaving a mark on European history that endures to this day. Their journey began in the 11th century from a modest Swabian castle perched atop a hill in southwestern Germany. Through generations of strategic marriages, clever alliances, and decisive military campaigns, the Hohenzollerns steadily expanded their power and prestige. By the 18th century, under the brilliant leadership of Frederick the Great, Prussia emerged as a formidable European powerhouse. Frederick's reforms and military victories transformed his realm into a model of efficiency and strength, admired and feared by rivals. The dynasty reached its zenith in 1871, when King Wilhelm I was crowned the first German emperor in the opulent Hall of Mirrors at Versailles. This moment symbolized the unification of Germany under Hohenzollern rule, a crowning achievement after centuries of ambition. The Hohenzollerns left behind a legacy of grand palaces, priceless art collections, and architectural marvels. Their name became synonymous with German ambition, culture, and the pursuit of power. Yet, the dynasty's final ruler, Kaiser Wilhelm II, was a complex and controversial figure. His aggressive foreign policies and militaristic ambitions played a significant role in the events that led to the outbreak of World War I, forever altering the course of history. The defeat of Germany in 1918 brought the Hohenzollern era to an abrupt end. Overnight, the Kaiser abdicated and fled into exile in the Netherlands, while the German Empire collapsed and gave way to a fledgling republic. With the monarchy dissolved, the family lost not only their titles and political power, but also faced uncertainty over the fate of their vast estates and treasures. The status of their immense property holdings became a matter of intense debate and legal wrangling. This sudden and dramatic fall from grace set the stage for a century-long saga of legal battles and political controversy, a legacy that continues to spark debate and division in Germany to this very day. The Hohenzollern property loss unfolded in two waves, shaped by Germany's turbulent 20th century. After World War I, the new republic debated the fate of royal assets, palaces, estates, and art. A 1926 compromise let the family keep some properties, but many iconic sites became public museums. After World War II, communist authorities in East Germany and Poland seized nearly everything else, with no compensation. The family's legacy was scattered, some treasures in West German museums, others lost or behind the Iron Curtain. The post-war period marked the near-total loss of a patrimony built over 5 centuries. Property was now divided between the family, West German states, and East German states. Many items were lost, sold, or destroyed in the chaos. This complex situation laid the groundwork for the legal challenges to come. The question of rightful ownership would haunt Germany for decades. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, followed by the official reunification of Germany in 1990, was a moment of immense hope and celebration. For many, it marked the end of decades of division and the promise of a new, united future. But beneath the jubilation, old wounds were reopened, especially those involving property claims and unresolved injustices from the past. The new government introduced the Compensation Act, a sweeping law that allowed families to seek the return of or compensation for property seized after 1945, whether by the Nazis or the East German state. Among the most prominent claimants was the Hohenzollern family, once Germany's imperial dynasty. They filed claims for castles, vast lands, and priceless art lost in what had become East Germany. The idea that museum collections might be broken up or national treasures returned to former royals alarmed the public and sent shockwaves through the cultural sector. Many feared the loss of heritage that belonged to all Germans. However, the law included a crucial restriction. No compensation would be granted to those who had substantially advanced the Nazi regime, a clause designed to prevent rewarding collaboration. Suddenly, the Hohenzollern claims became the subject of a complex historical investigation. At the heart of it all was a single question: had Crown Prince Wilhelm, the last Kaiser's son, actively supported Adolf Hitler and the Nazi movement? The government argued that he had, which would disqualify the family from any restitution. The Hohenzollerns, however, insisted that their ancestors' actions had been misunderstood or exaggerated. What began as a legal process quickly turned into a moral and historical minefield, with both sides presenting conflicting evidence and interpretations. The entire dispute now focused on the actions and intentions of one man, nearly a century ago, and how his legacy should be judged today. The case deadlocked, with historians and lawyers unable to agree on the true nature of the Crown Prince's role in history, the fate of priceless national treasures, and the question of justice after reunification, now hinged on the contested legacy of a single controversial figure. The legal stalemate ignited a fierce public debate among historians, dubbed the Historikerstreit 2.0. Evidence showed Crown Prince Wilhelm met with Hitler, endorsed him, and wore Nazi symbols. Many argued he gave the Nazis aristocratic legitimacy, aiding their rise. State-commissioned historians concluded his support was active and significant. For much of the public, compensating his descendants was unthinkable. The family's defenders countered that Wilhelm was politically naive, his support tactical and ultimately insignificant. The debate became deeply polarized, with accusations of whitewashing and presentism. The original property claim was overshadowed by a national reckoning over collaboration and guilt. The treasures themselves faded into the background as the fight over history took center stage. A negotiated settlement seemed impossible amid the acrimony. Years of deadlock and public hostility forced a change in strategy. By the early 2020s, both sides recognized the conflict was damaging reputations and museum planning. Prince Georg Friedrich adopted a conciliatory tone, prioritizing public good over maximum claims. The family shifted from legal battles to seeking a pragmatic, forward-looking solution. The breakthrough, agreeing that most disputed objects would remain in public museums. Mediators helped both sides focus on practical matters: legal status, limited returns, and future cooperation. Compromise, not confrontation, finally paved the way for the 2025 agreement. The 2025 agreement is a classic German compromise. The vast majority of disputed items, artworks, furniture, documents, remain public property, securing museum collections for the future. In return, the Hohenzollerns dropped all further claims and received key concessions. They gained a permanent rent-free residence in part of Sicilienhof Palace, a symbolic link to their heritage. Select personal items of sentimental value were returned to the family. The family now holds a non-voting seat on the Prussian Palaces and Gardens Foundation Board. A one-time payment, far less than their original claim, ends all financial disputes. The agreement sidesteps the unresolved historical debate, leaving judgment to historians and the public. It's a pact for preservation and public access, not a declaration of who was right or wrong. The settlement's greatest achievement is preserving Germany's public museum collections. Had the family's claims succeeded, museums would have been stripped of key exhibits, erasing centuries of history. These collections are more than beautiful objects. They're archives of national identity, designed as coherent ensembles. The agreement ensures visitors can experience historic spaces as intended, maintaining a direct link to the past. It reaffirms that cultural heritage of national significance belongs to the people, not just a single family. The Hohenzollerns built these collections as rulers, using public resources. The deal sets a precedent for resolving heritage disputes worldwide, balancing personal connection with public right. The treasures are safe and they belong to everyone. The Hohenzollern dispute's resolution is more than a legal victory. It's a lesson in confronting history. It's a reminder that the past is never truly settled, and that the legacies of powerful families can echo for generations. The Hohenzollerns, once rulers of an empire, now find themselves at the center of a debate that goes far beyond property or titles. The conflict forced Germany to re-examine its transition from monarchy to republic and its Nazi past. It brought uncomfortable questions to the surface. How do we judge the actions of ancestors? What responsibility do modern generations bear for the choices made decades ago? The dispute became a mirror reflecting Germany's ongoing struggle with its own identity. It highlighted the tension between legal justice and historical memory. Museums and memorials became battlegrounds for competing narratives, as the public grappled with what should be remembered and what should be forgiven or forgotten. For many, any Nazi association was enough to disqualify claims, showing that ethics can outweigh law in heritage debates. The presence of Nazi-era documents and the shadow of collaboration made the legal process deeply emotional and morally charged. The saga became a national conversation about responsibility, not just for property, but for history itself. Newspapers, television, and everyday conversations buzzed with opinions as citizens weighed the meaning of justice and reconciliation. The compromise offers a hopeful model. Dialogue and shared stewardship can resolve even the most fraught disputes. By bringing all parties to the table, Germany demonstrated that even the deepest wounds can begin to heal through open discussion and mutual respect. After a century of upheaval, the agreement suggests the rightful custodian of history is both the family and the public. Castles and artifacts are no longer just private treasures but shared symbols of a nation's journey. It honors the family's role while cementing public ownership of Germany's story. The result is a richer, more inclusive narrative, one that acknowledges both privilege and pain and invites everyone to participate in remembering. The question remains, how should other nations balance the claims of the past with the needs of the present? As countries around the world face their own historical reckonings, the Hohenzollern case stands as a powerful example of how dialogue, transparency, and shared responsibility can shape a more honest future.